Welcome back to another edition of the Pagcast. So today, with me on the line, I have 2020 NHL draft prospect Sam Colangelo. Before we get into it, Sam, let's just get into how are you doing today?
Today has been going pretty well. I had an NHL interview this morning, and then just kind of chilled out, ate some lunch, and then now I'm here. So today's been going pretty well. But yeah, this during these times, everything's been going pretty well. It's obviously pretty crazy, but just trying to stay active and stuff.
So first question is, who influenced you to start hockey?
My dad had me on skates when I was like 13 months old, so I was pretty young. So I'd say he got me into it pretty young age.
And so I guess would you say that did your dad ever show you any highlights so that you would get familiar with the game?
Yeah, we like our family owns sports bars. That's our our family business, and one of them we used to own was right next to the TD Garden in Boston. So he actually used to get free tickets to Bruins games basically my whole entire life. So he's kind of just always bringing me to those games. It's a pretty young age, and I kind of just fell in love with the game.
Did trying to raise your draft stock at all phase you during your junior season?
I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't really say raising my draft stock was something that I thought about too much. Like I have a range of where I think I'm going to go and where I think I deserve to go. But I mean, the draft's pretty much a one-day thing, and then after that, it's just kind of getting back to work. But obviously, it was a pretty cool day for my family, and I have kind of an expectation. But I worked hard to get to this spot, but I don't think about it too much.
How have you been able to stay mentally strong during your junior season?
Yeah, I mean, just knowing that if I work hard during the week, I'll be confident going into the weekend. I think just maybe if I have a bad game, just sitting back and looking at what I could have done better, watching video and stuff like that, and just striving to get better each day.
Athletes deal with lots of ups and downs during the season. How do you remain balanced?
Yeah, I know. I mean, this season we were pretty fortunate. I was on a pretty good team. We only lost 7 games, so as a team, it was pretty easy to not really get down too often. But I mean, if you don't lose very often, you lose once every couple of months. When you do lose, it's kind of an eye opener. And we went through a phase like that this year. We actually got swept. I think it was sort of right after Christmas break. And personally, I actually thought I played pretty well. But as a team, we had to take a step back and realize what we could have done better that weekend. And just like I said, just getting back to work each week and getting ready for the weekend.
So you said that you guys got swept right after the Christmas break. Were there any challenges that you guys faced, even though you lost 7 games?
I'd say at the beginning of the year, we weren't playing, we were such a skilled team that we kind of got away with it. Sometimes they're playing a team game, and I think that's something we improved on drastically throughout the year. But maybe in the beginning of the year, we weren't even playing that good of hockey, but we just were getting kind of lucky and coming away with wins. But I think as the year went along, we started to play better as a team and kind of dominate the game.
When did you realize that you had a legitimate shot to make the NHL?
I mean, I think since I was a pretty young kid, I was always a pretty good player around here. But I'd say probably the last 2 years, I kind of try to make a name for myself and just work as hard as I can. But then I think at the beginning of this year, I kind of realized how good I can be if I work hard and continue to work hard over the next couple of years. But yeah, I'd say maybe coming into this season, I kind of had that expectation to get drafted and hopefully play in the NHL someday.
You had a great season, 28 goals, 30 assists for 58 points in 44 games. What was the biggest factor in helping you grow your game?
I mean, the points wouldn't have happened without my teammates and line mates. My 2 line mates at the end of the year, they're both 100% going to get drafted this year, and Sean Farrell and Brendan Brisson. They're 2 of my best friends, but then our coaching staff was, I'd say, second to none in junior hockey, and they developed us a lot throughout the year, and I'm definitely a way better player now than I was in September. So they helped me a lot, and playing with great players helps as well.
Will you ever connect with your buddies after the draft?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of funny. We had all, I know, we were all planning on going to the draft. A bunch of, I know at least 3 or 4 of us from our team, so that was kind of something that would have been a pretty cool thing to do. It's something that I dreamed of since I was a pretty young kid. But now that it's online, I mean, I still talk to all my friends every day. Me and Briss were FaceTiming last night. A bunch of us play video games. So, and then other guys from my team, Liam Devlin's one of my best friends from home as well. So, yeah, I mean, I'll still talk to all my friends. I mean, no matter what without the draft or with the draft, whether they get drafted or not, like just we're friends off the ice, and that's kind of all that matters.
You played at the World Junior A Challenge. What was that experience like?
That was pretty cool. It was the second time I got to wear the USA jersey, and I mean, like that feeling of putting that on, being from the U.S. and growing up here my whole life is definitely second to none. Representing your country is probably the best feeling you could have as a player, other than winning a Stanley Cup. And yeah, it was a good experience. I mean, we didn't win gold, but we didn't lose a game in regulation. So if you tell someone those two things, that usually doesn't add up. But it was a great experience, and I'm thankful to be on that team.
Did you ever feel the rivalries when you donned the USA jersey?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously, like when you think of USA, you think of USA Canada as a rivalry. And when I played at the Holinka tournament a couple years ago, we had a pretty controversial call versus Canada. Like they scored after the buzzer and they called it a goal. So I mean, that just kind of fueled the rivalry for me a little bit more. Like obviously, we kind of got I guess you could say gypped. And this year, I think at the Junior A Challenge, like there was 2 Canada teams, so it was a bit different. Like you weren't playing all of Canada, but every time you play against Canada, like you're going pretty hard. And then also, I think a little like underrated rivalry is Russia. Like us and the Russians, what I wouldn't say get along too well, and that's a rivalry I got to experience, and I was fortunate to come out on top of that one.
How often have you watched the clip where Canada scored after the buzzer?
I think right after that tournament, it was like all over Twitter and stuff like that. So obviously I saw it quite a bit, but I've watched it probably a couple times like since then. And obviously it kind of frustrates me every time, but it was a dream to play in that tournament, and it was a cool experience. And obviously I wish it kind of ended differently, but I've watched it a couple times.
Unfortunately, hockey has been postponed due to the coronavirus. How has that impacted your draft preparation?
I think, like we still had 13 games left and then playoffs, so I still had a little bit more I think I could have proven. And but I thought I did pretty much everything I could, besides a couple things I could have continued to work on. I mean, to get my name out there and get my name pretty high in those lists, and I think that's something I did. I think I've kind of just been working out at home. One rink nearby just kind of open, so I skated a couple times, and there's a gym nearby that kind of got into luckily a couple times, but other than that, just kind of staying home and working out at home. But obviously I was going to go, or not obviously, but I was going to go to the combine, and obviously that's kind of for someone in their draft year, that's kind of a check mark thing. And it's a dream that I wanted to make the combine, and I was fortunate enough to make it, but that's not really a thing anymore. So just kind of doing interviews through Zoom, and it's unprecedented times, and I don't even really know when the draft's going to be. So it's not really what I dreamed of, but it's still a cool experience.
So there's 3 types of teams you're going to get drafted to: a contender, tweener, which is a team on the brink of making the playoffs or missing the playoffs, or a rebuilding team. Mm-hmm. Which one of those 3 teams would you want to get drafted to?
I mean, I don't know, like getting drafted to any team in the NHL is a dream of mine, but I actually read an article a couple weeks ago, and it was Tyler Seguin, who was like one of my favorite players when he played for the Bruins, because I was a young kid and he got drafted 2nd overall. So I read an article, and he said that he won a Stanley Cup in his first year in the NHL, but he didn't really have an appreciation for it like some of the other guys did, because they had worked their whole careers for it, and he just kind of got thrown into the mix. And now that he's back, now that he's in Dallas and he's working hard there, like kind of has a greater appreciation for it. And he said that it might even feel better when at this time, now that he really knows like how much work he's put in to get there. But I mean, obviously winning the Stanley Cup's a dream of mine, so I can't really choose one of those teams. But any team that drafts me, I think it would be a dream come true to win the Stanley Cup with that team, for them believing in me.
What do you hope to bring to that team that drafts you?
I think I'm an offensive forward, highly skilled forward. It was a great shot. I think I can put up points offensively, but I think I can also help out in the D zone and play in all situations. But just continue to work hard and get better, and hopefully play in the NHL someday.
How much preparation goes into your games?
I mean, like throughout the week, like in Chicago this year, we'd be at the rink pretty much from 9 to 5 every single day. So I'd say a lot of preparation. But on game days, I wouldn't say I'm the most superstitious guy. I have a couple routines I like to do, but just watching video throughout the week and stuff like that helps prepare me for the weekend.
You're committed to Northeastern, if I'm not mistaken. What played into your decision to continue your hockey there?
Yeah, I live 20 minutes away from Northeastern, so that was kind of a no-brainer in a sense. And you kind of grow up wanting to go to one of the four Beanpot schools. Beanpot's tournament every year in Boston, where all the four Boston schools play against each other, and it's pretty rivaled and pretty rival tournament, and it's got a lot of history to it. So I grew up always wanting to play in that, and Northeastern was the first school I ever toured, and I didn't commit there until about a year later. So I've built a really, really close relationship with the staff, and they seem like they believe in me. So it's kind of a no-brainer for me.
To stay healthy throughout the whole season, players recommend choosing a diet. Do you follow any diets?
No, like not anything particularly, but over the past year or so, I've kind of taken nutrition a lot more seriously, making sure I'm eating healthy. But I wouldn't say like it's a plant-based diet or anything like that. Like nothing particularly, but just making sure I'm putting good things in my body.
Who do you like to model your game after?
One guy I have watched a ton of this year was Kasper Kapanen on the Leafs. I like to watch him a lot. Guys like James Van Riemsdyk, Mark Scheifele. I'd say those three guys, if I could take parts of their games and put them together to mine, it's definitely beneficial. They're all pretty much stars in the NHL. So,
would you ever get nervous lining up against one of the players you model your game after?
Yeah, I mean, I actually got asked that question yesterday. I did something with the Steel. It was like a fan webinar thing, and so I think it was a little bit similar of a question. It was a little bit different, but it was like, who would you most want to meet when you get into the league and if you make the NHL? And I guess I'd be probably more nervous going against Crosby or Ovechkin because they're the two most famous kids when you're a little kid. But yeah, I mean saying I model a game after someone, then lining up against them would be a pretty cool thing to do. But yeah, I mean I think I'm a pretty confident kid, and if I'm playing against them, it's all business. But it'd be cool to meet them after and talk to them what they think and stuff like that.
Final question here. Do you have any advice for aspiring hockey players that may look up to you one day?
Yeah, I think, I know I talk to a lot of the young kids around here, but just work hard every single day and never give up on yourself. I know I went through a year or two where I kind of fell off a little bit because I didn't hit puberty until a little bit after some other kids. And I mean, just believe in yourself is probably the most important thing, and not in the bad way. Don't be cocky, but be confident and be a confident kid and work hard every single day. Do the little things and work hard when no one's watching.
All right, well, that'll do it on this edition of the Pagcast. I'd like to thank Sam Colangelo again for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.